안녕하십니까, 교수님들. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I feel very happy that the co-evolution policy research group and science and technology policy group of CNU participates in the 11th ASIP conference today in such a beautiful place, Jeju Island, in such a beautiful season. Before we start the discussion and presentation, I'd like to introduce the head of the Co-Evolution Policy Research Group of CNU, Professor Chan-Goo, and we'd like to ask for opening address as well as the introduction of the research of this group. So why don't you give big hands to Professor Lee.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Chan-Goo and professor and director Chungnam National University. So I'm very happy to have a special session in beautiful Jeju Island. I also appreciate for many excellent researchers in this field, particularly Gongnae, Dr. Myung-bae, Kim Byung-gun, Hwang Kyu-hee, and Myung-bae, who will discuss and good comment about our presentation and our research topics. So today's special session ASIP 2021 is co-evolution of innovation and policy. This session is hosted by Chungnam National University and KRD, namely Korea Institute of Human Resources Development in Science and Technology. So I especially thank for KRD, which support our research proposals. So next, I will brief introduction of my research topic and today's presentation orders. First of all, background for succeeding innovation growth and development in both national and regional level. Various innovation activities such as promoting the capability of science and technology innovation, enhancing the industrial structure and economic system, economic innovation, increasing the acceptability and the responsiveness of social change, social innovation, upgrading policy contents as well as rationalizing policy process itself. Policy innovation should be systematically integrated. However, in past innovation growth policies, this integrated perspective has not been sufficiently considered in policy process. So, therefore, especially in the era of the first industrial revolution, the integration of technology, economic, social, and policy innovation could be important factors in determining policy success. This is because when the result of destructive technology innovation diffuse or transfer to other sectors innovation, such as economic and social innovation, policy should not work as value or regulation. Therefore, we believe that co-evolution of innovation and policy is an essential research topic in the discipline of innovation studies, more specifically science and technology policy studies and policy sciences. From the perspective of co-evolution of innovation and policy, we will focus on three research topics as following. First, discussing new definition of technology, economic, social, and policy innovation, which have been derived from the paradigm shift caused by disruptive technology innovation. Second, exploring the factors to both diffuse and transfer innovation result of an individual sectors to other sectors. Third, suggesting the integrated innovation model of technology, economic, and social and policy sectors. Meanwhile, this research project will be conducted, funded by National Research Foundation of Korea Department of Education during 6 years between September 22 and August 2025. So the theoretical background in this research, both innovation studies and policy sciences will be adopted as a theoretical background. Innovation studies deals with the process of problem solving by adopting knowledge, technology, industry, institution, and ideas that individual or organizations recognize as new ones, and furthermore include technology, economic, social, and policy innovation depends on the specific areas. Meanwhile, policy sciences investigates the government intervention to solve policy problems that individual and the society cannot solve, and adopt the interdisciplinary method to study both policy process and the policy contents simultaneously. As a result, we believe that innovation studies and policy sciences have same discipline goals, although different terminology adopted. So here I will give a brief presentation past research performance in our research teams. According to research goals and the theoretical background, we published 3 research articles in Journal of Korea Society of Technology Innovation at August 2021. So first, new discussion of the conceptual definition of technology innovation. Second, conceptual approach to understanding economic innovation based on the digital technology innovation. Third, understanding the concept of social innovation from the perspective of technology innovations. In this, we discussed and suggest a new definition of individual innovation sectors in contrast to the past definition in technology, economic, and social sectors. Finally, today we have four research paper presentations. So based on the existing research articles, we are also discuss and suggest of innovation sources, namely input factors, and diffusion and transfer factors, namely output factors to other innovation sectors, such as new sources of technology innovation and transferring factors to other factors by Dr. Hyang, and driving forces of economic innovation caused by digital transformation and effective factors to social systems presented by Dr. Inhye. So starting point of adaptive social innovation and impacting factors to policy and society by Dr. Hyuk. Lastly, National Innovation System and Innovation Studies in Korea by Dr. HyounJeong. Finally, I participatory will appreciate the best comments from Dr. Lee Gong-rae, Dr. Myung-bae, Dr. Hwang Kyu-lee, and Dr. Kim Byung-keun. Here, I have a brief introduction of this research topic and 3 presentation topics today. But I will have a very good advice and many comments from outstanding for researchers and or followers. So then we will get your comment and advice. We will advise more better, and then lastly we will this presentation topics will published in the maybe I'm not sure, but the SSCI quoted journals early next year or at least late of next year. So thank you.
Thank you, Professor Lee. Now we are going to start our main session. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Myung-bae Yeom, Professor Emeritus at Chungnam National University. I feel very happy to have this opportunity to moderate this session, and I feel a great privilege, to take this position. We have about 2 hours and some minutes. So as Professor Lee has introduced, we are going to have 4 papers presented and discussed. So the presenters may keep the time limit within 15 or 20 minutes, and discussions within 20 or 15 minutes or so. The first presenter will be Professor Lee Hyang-Sook, and the title is The Source of Technology Innovation and Transferring Factors to other sectors. Then after her presentation, Professor Lee Gong-rae, you are on the screen, who is the Professor Emeritus at the DGIST, Daegu Gyeongguk-Kwahagwon. So he will deliver some comments to the presentation of Professor Lee. Okay, I'd like to introduce Professor Lee. So why don't we have big hands?
Good afternoon. My name is Hyang-Sook. I'm sorry, but I'm not good at English. My presentation topic is the source of technology innovation and transferring factors to other sectors. This paper is still being written, and I will listen carefully to comments from this conference and reflect them to develop this paper. Then I'll start the presentation. The order of presentation is the same as shown on screen. Introduction, theoretical background, framework of research, future research plan. Let me tell you the theoretical background. Today's technology innovation brings new ways to production and consumption. As a result, people's perceptions and cultural changes and new relationships and problems are created. At the same time, social challenges such as aging, polarization, and global warming that have not been experienced before are becoming more serious. Also, technology innovation leads economic and social changes, and at the same time serves as a means of solving problems. Therefore, it is necessary to discuss the relationship between technology innovation and national society at a macro level. The purpose of this study is to explore the source of technology innovation from a holistic perspective and to find out what are the factors the transfer and diffusion and to other sectors. One of the models discussing the relationship between technology innovation and national society is the TESP integration model. The TESP model, first introduced by Lee Chan-Goo professor, takes a holistic approach to innovation. The basic assumption of the TESP model is technology innovation is transferred and diffused to the economic and social and policy sectors. Basic concepts of the model are first, the basic concept, technology innovation is discovery and application, discovery and utilization of new science and technology-based knowledge that can lead to this disruptive innovation. Two, economic innovations means change in the industrial structure and economic system as a result of technology innovation. In addition, social innovation refers to the transformation of perceptions and institutions to accommodate the various changes accompanied by technology and economic innovation. And policy innovation refers to the design for policy content and process that support these innovations. These comparing the concept of technology innovation with the TESP model and the classical model, the new concept has the following characters. First, the purpose is expanded to the pursuit of private utility and public problem solving. Second, the actors are drivers to the private and public sectors. Third, the objects are expanded to science and technology knowledge. Fourth, it is activities to create, transfer, and diffusion and utilize knowledge. And the result of innovation is not only economic growth, but also change in economic structure and social relations. Next, the following is the discussions on the source of technology innovation, comparing the classical and recent approaches. I plan to further consider the classification criteria and make them concrete. First, as you know, technology push, demandful, interactive, hypothesis. There are three types of studies. However, many studies focus on knowledge. There are three types of studies dealing with knowledge. First is process of creation and diffusion of knowledge. Second, suggest positive effect of knowledge through empirical research. And third, emphasize knowledge management at the firm level. Now, the source of innovation can be said to be science and technology knowledge push. Second, there are discussions about whether the supplier or consumer leads technology innovation at the firm level. But it is considered need to bring about today's technology innovation. The economic and social needs drive innovation. Classical studies focused only on economic need. Now social and social need first technology innovation needs full. Third, the source of innovation was also found in the comparative structure of the market. Traditional studies have tried to reveal which is advantageous for innovation among the competition monopoly. But the innovation process is increasingly multi-directional, interactive, and involving multiple actors. Today's innovation cannot be achieved alone, only through cooperation. First, the source of innovation was also found in the size of the firm. It was found that large firms are advantageous in innovation with abundant R&D resources, and small firms have an advantageous in flexibility. However, especially in the digital transformation era, the network with other companies, research institutes, consumers, financial, and the government is more important than the size of the firm. In addition, various innovations are emerging through platform-based network. Summarizing the overall discussion, the source of innovation is shifted to knowledge push, needful, and it is considered that the promotion of innovation is network and platform-based and cooperation-based. My framework of this research considers technology innovation to be constant interaction with the environment. And innovation creates new knowledge by accommodating environmental changes and economic and social need. And the new knowledge is transferred diffusion to economic and social and policy sectors. And the environment and needs change again. The future research plan is to explore the factors of change in technology and environment, find out the factors of diffusion and transfer, and suggest evaluation of TESP innovation. And I plan to present at COTIS 5th November. My English is very weak, sorry. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Professor Lee. She has suggested that the general approach to the technological innovation. So now we are going to have time for discussion. Professor Lee, Lee Gong-ne, yeah, okay.
Yes.
You are, yeah, you are now in.
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah. You are now in Daegu or Seoul?
Not Daegu, not Seoul. I'm in private house, yeah, in Gyeonggi-do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Even though we are
anyway, thank
long
you
way.
so much for invitation. Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to ask you to have some comments on Professor Lee's presentation.
Oh yeah, thank you, Chairman. Thank you for Dr. Lee's presentation on source of technology. Yeah, it is interesting to see at macro level the TESP model. Yeah, I have been involving in research work basically on a micro or meso basis. Yeah, when I see this TESP model at macro level, it's quite interesting, yeah, to see whole spectrum of Korean innovation activities. Yes, I understand that Dr. Lee's presentation deal with four main dimension: yeah, technology dimension, innovation dimension, economy innovation dimension, and policy innovation, social innovation dimension. So almost it includes whole dimension of Korean society on innovations. So I understand TESP model is a macro analysis taking a holistic approach. I understand also this model explain the society, create and exchange. These four dimensions cooperate and create, exchange new science and technology based knowledge, which is called usually as innovation. And they closely intertwine so that complexity is in their interaction. Yeah? And also they influence sometimes, and they maybe influence each other. So they are really linked each other. It also implicates that lack of one dimension hinders the innovation of others, so that these four dimensions as important factors in innovation at macro level. Yeah, that is my understanding. Please show me the next slide here. My perception, yes, this is my perception is simple. I think the TESP model with a holistic approach is the right way to understand the reality associated with technology innovation at macro level, especially macro level. Yes, this model may be useful to discover innovation policies, especially policies. So policy is not simple, so quite complicated, so that we need to understand full picture of the society. So I think this model may discover policy to enhance socially desirable innovations. Yeah, and interesting to see a holistic approach here. I just take two examples. Yeah. In my experience, I think the NIS approach is a kind of holistic approach. No, you know, we didn't say any about the holistic approach, but it implied NIS approach is also a holistic approach for understanding source of innovation at national level. So the national level means macro level. I understand these two words is the same. And second example, maybe complexity theory. Yeah, many scholars like a complex theory because it is a holistic approach, and it's very easy to understand the truth of natural or social phenomena. Especially natural scientists also like this complex theory to discover some natural phenomena. For example, very recently I heard that 2021, the Nobel laureate in physics, Myung-bae, Hazelman, Parisi, these three scholars become Nobel winners, and they developed a physical model of Earth's climate change and explored the interaction between radiation balance and the vertical transport of the air masses. Very interesting. And this is a natural science, a kind of theoretical model to see the climate change. We can apply this kind of approach to the social science, like innovation source. Yeah. Very interesting to see Myung-bae's approach here. Myung-bae's model described the complex climate system characterized by two elements, randomness and disorder. I think he selected two elements, randomness, disorder. This typical phenomena of nature. Yes. They got a Nobel Prize, and we learn from the Nobel winners. I think even though they try to understand, to find the truth of nature or social phenomena, definitely there are some limitations and also issues to overcome. Firstly, I want to argue that there are over-adjustable hypotheses in theory making. It means it's very difficult to refute a thesis made on a basis of a holistic approach, yeah, because it includes almost all factors associated with the topic, so that it's very hard to make antithesis here, and so it may not generate synthesis that goes near to the truth. Yeah. Theory or hypothesis always goes through this kind of process. When somebody argued thesis, then there should be some antithesis. That is a repeatable process. Yeah. And then finally, after some degree of discussion, we reach some synthesis, which is maybe truth or may not be truth, but we we conclude some argument. So that I would rather take this position that we need to take a brave, refutable hypothesis, so possible to make antithesis. So we need to open some room to audience for make antithesis. Yeah, just simply opposite position. And second point I would like to mention is I always argue the story, even though we make this paper theory or we need to have some story. I always argue we have to make a paper, interesting paper for readers to read interestingly, so that we need to include some story, even in theory making paper or any papers. So we need to have a story, but it may not be easy to make a story in holistic approach. And lastly, on policy implication, even though we see whole spectrum of system, still question remain as to how efficiently allocate limited resource for socially desirable innovations. Yes, that's why economists take the position that companies or firms, I think, compete each other and make innovation. That is a strategy to efficiently allocate limited resources. And also dimension of technology innovation. I'm still worrying about some kind of this dimension of technology innovation may be less emphasized. Always I perceive that social dimension and policy dimension is too strongly perceived by audience. Almost all people perceive strongly the social dimension and policy dimension. So when we talk about 3 dimension or 4 dimension in total, and then obviously technology innovation dimension may be less emphasized. So I worry about then when we talk so much about technology, some degree of technology missing out. So we need to concern about this point here. And that's why I would like to suggest to the presenters and Dr. Lee for improving the paper and for your research. TESP model, right, yeah, can be used to explain system characteristic of the innovation, especially at macro level. Yeah. However, it may be desirable to study specific technology case as a complementary measure for the holistic approach. Then you can make story, and also you can emphasize the technology dimension, and also for audience, it looks innovation, technology innovation, not social innovation, economic innovation, so much emphasized. So that is my suggestion. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. This is my end of my discussion.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Lee. Now we are going to proceed on to the second presentation. Professor Inhye will present, and the topic is about economic innovation. So the title is "Driving Forces of Economy Innovation Caused by Digital transformation and impacting factors to social system. Okay, why don't you give big hands to Professor Yu? I will with the discussant this time, to her presentation.
Good afternoon. My name is Inhye. Today's topic is driving forces of economic innovation caused by digital transformation and impacting factors to social system. This topic is a follow-up study to the last paper on the concept of economic innovation, and this time to find the factors that promote economic innovation and the impacting factors to social system. I prepared the presentation in the following order. As you know, it is clear that the overall structure of the economy has changed due to digital transformation. The production method has changed from large scale and mass production to customized production. Consumption methods and consumer needs have diversified, especially the working and employment method is different to the past. For example, the gig economy have huge change in digital economy. Depending on the position of objecting the gig economy may be good or not. Economic innovation by digital transformation is fundamentally different from the third industrial revolution. So I want to conduct research on the following matters. First, why did the digital technology represented by ICBMA spread at faster than the previous ones? Second, what are the factors that cause economic innovation to spread and transfer to other social systems? And what is the difference between the diffusion and transfer path of each innovation? Next, the relationship between technology innovation and economic growth has evolved since Schumpeter first stated in 1911. How did it change? Here I have divided them into three main characteristics. These are target of innovation, position of technology innovation in economic growth, and last one is scope of innovation. The details are as follows. First, the subject of innovation has changed from individuals to large-scale corporate organizations. Second, although technology innovation was only on external variables of economic growth, it was included in production function as an endogenous variables. Finally, new combination of production factors were important, but now they have been extended to knowledge dissemination and innovation networks. First of all, the quantitative growth of firms focus on factors of production was emphasized. In 1911, Schumpeter called entrepreneurs the main agents of economic development and emphasized the new combination of labor, land, and production resources. In about 3 years, he argued that innovation is driven by large corporate organizations with R&D centers. And he also told that creative destruction is the driving force of economic growth, and that profit is the reward for the legitimate efforts of entrepreneurs. Next, I will talk about economic growth through endogenous of technology innovation. There are arguments that monopoly benefits lead to R&D, technology market size, and property rights, protection of property rights are also important to technology innovation. And technology innovation is driven by personal needs and profit motivation of firms. Also, the growth of trade enhances technology innovation. Lastly, between technology innovation and economic growth were created and expanded as an external effect. These blue circles show how the relationship between technology and economic growth has expanded, specifically in the past, where whether technology was exogenous or endogenous, and the role of the entrepreneur was important. Recently, is expanded not only to technology, but also to knowledge dissemination and innovation networks, and improving productivity through share and mutual exchange of knowledge, change in industrial and market structure. This table means that the preceding studies classify factors that promote economic innovation and impacting factors. Literature reviews that explain the relationship between technology innovation and economic innovation were divided into the driving forces and the impacting factors of economic innovation. First, the classified driving force and impacting factors were divided into micro and macro levels. Then each factors was reclassified to first tier and second tier. This first tier is point to individual and company part, and second tier is organizations or countries part. Due to the time limit, skip the details. So what factors drive economic innovation, and how will be affected? Economic innovation driving factors were divided into internal and external factors according to the perspective of production, consumption, and distribution that constitute the concept of digital economic innovation. In addition, changes in economic innovation due to digital transformation can be largely seen as changes in industrial structure, working method, and consumption behavior. Therefore, based on these contents, each factors was classified into production, consumption, and distribution area. Please see the contents of the table for each specific details. Next is framework of this study. In this study, internal and external environmental factors further promote economic innovation by digital transformation than the past. In addition, it is assumed that promote digital economic innovation is transferred and spread, and also interacted between innovations. So this study is a follow-up study of a conceptual approach to understand economic innovation, and it started with the question of why economic innovation was promoted faster by digital technology. Therefore, based on the analysis of previous studies, I will try to find out the factors of promote and influence the digital economic innovation. Finally, last page. Future research plans are shown in the table. By the last week of October, I plan to further specify these factors that promote an impact of economic innovation by digital transformation. That's all I have prepared. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Professor Yu, for your nice presentation. Today, I play two roles. First, as a moderator, and second, as a discussant. I just received her paper the day before yesterday, so I have to confess that I did not have much time to read through her paper and review my idea. So anyway, I think your paper is well organized. Your paper has some dilemma because her issue is economic innovation about, but economic and phenomena are a part of social phenomena, and as well, and it is closely related to technology innovation. So it is closely related to the first presentation of Professor Lee and to the third presentation of Professor Jo. So we have to distinguish your own economic aspects different from the first presentation and from the third one. So I focused upon how to distinguish your paper in order to improve. In order to enhance much more improvement of your paper, I'd like to suggest something. First, I want you to take three steps in order to make your paper more simple and more straightforward. So which is three steps? This one. The first step is technology innovation, and second step is economic innovation, and third one is economic effect. So we have to segregate each step, and you can proceed onto the next step. For the first step, you have some in your own characteristics different from Professor Lee Hyung-suk's and presentation. So now I think you have to find the basic difference of current technology innovation, especially in the fourth industrialization revolution area. So that is, I think, what is different from the previous innovation and today's innovation is that the previous innovation is about vertical concept and production innovation, and that makes production cost reduction, and that makes the price reduction, and that is according to the vertical process. But now in the fourth industrial revolution age, and not only the vertical revolution, but also some horizontal revolution through networks, and sometimes some grid, a combination of a vertical and horizontal innovation. So we have to think about the possibility, and you think about the new transition and new paradigm of technology innovation. As we may think that Klaus Schwab in 2016, who is the CEO of World Economic Forum, has mentioned two key aspects, characteristics of the fourth industrial revolution. The first is in super connectivity, hyper connectivity. And second one is super intelligence. So we have to think about the possibility of the new trends of innovation. The last one, also he has mentioned three special aspects of innovation of the fourth industrial revolution. The first one is velocity, very fast. And the second one is very wide breadth and very deep. And third one, it is very important, the system impact, which is very much different from the old one. New kind of social system is approaching. So as the result of that, fourth industrial revolution is much different from previous industrial revolution. So for the second step, I want you to find the relations between the new kind of technology revolution and new kind of economic situation. So that is one example of that is the industry is connected with each other, not vertical industry, but closely related to other industry. Okay, so you have to think about it. We can think, for example, the platform industry. So through platform, all kinds of activities are connected to each other. So I want you to think about the possibility. The final one, okay. So you have to think about the basic difference of the first industrial revolution from previous ones. And I want to point out that your research is too much focused on the economic growth I think about more than 80% of your presentation is focused on the economic growth. But the references are too old, too out of date. For example, Solo model in 1985 and Schumpeter model in 1911. So your references are about 1911, 1957, 42, 82, 89, and 99. The latest one is 2002, which is almost 20 years ago. So our economic situation has much changed after the publishment. So we have to follow up and update the current situation of innovation. So it is very important. As I mentioned, Klaus Schwab's effort can be one example to catch the new wave of the innovation, economic innovation. So I want you to focus on the relation between innovation and economic. So for the third part, which will be presented by Professor Jo, you have to distinguish the economic phenomenon from other social phenomena. So we have to extract an economic portion. So I think you're focusing upon economic growth is too narrow. So you have to broad up the other economic situation. Okay. So for step 3, you have to distinguish between a primary impact of economic innovation from the secondary and thirdly impact of economic innovation. So I want you to segregate those two things because the economic innovation itself can be the cause. For example, the invention of AI and invention of robots can make the production much different from the previous one. That can be the cause. What is the result then? Then the result can be the other phenomena as a result of using AI and robots as and the producer displaces labor force, human labor force by mechanical things such as AI and robots. What could be the results? One possibility would be the reducing of the labor, reducing of the demand of labor. Then what would be the results after that? Then laborers' income will be less than before. Then after that, income distribution situation will be got worse than before. So we can follow the process of each path. I suggested 4 examples. First one is production innovation. Due to the production innovation, labor-saving technologies will appear. Then, as the result of that, reduction of demand for human labor force, that results in loss of labor income. that makes income distribution much worse than before. Second possibility was consumption innovation. Because and producer and consumer can have direct transactions through internet. So the consumer can have much instant products from the producer. The consumers don't have to visit store. Through internet, they have direct transaction. So as the result of that, and some stores will disappear. So in Korean words, 중간상이 없어질 것이다. 중간상이 없어질 것이다. That makes a market structure much different from the previous one. So I'd like to suggest and 4 things for your further and thinking. First one is economic development growth, as you focused much upon. So as the result of digital transformation, what would be the growth pattern? The second one might be the impact on the market structure. The distinction between producer and consumer will be much narrower. So sometimes a consumer can be producers. We call them prosumers. So the distinction between traditional concept of consumers and producer will be very less important than before. So the third one, third one is impact of market structure. Okay, the third one is impact on the changes in industry structure from hardware industry to software industry, from real industry to virtual industry. So you have to follow up the changes in the industry structure. The final one is the impact on income distribution. Income distribution can be dealt in the third part, in the social part, as Professor Cho will deal with. But surely it is a part of economics, income distribution. So you can have some touch on the possibilities of the income distribution. Yeah, that would be the comments of mine. Thank you very much. Yeah. So now I change the role again. So the third presentation will be made by Professor Jo Min-hyuk, and his topic is about the social impact of the technology innovation, and the title is a starting point of social innovation derived from technology innovation and impacting factors to policy and society. Why don't you give big hands to Professor Jo?
Good afternoon. This is Min-hyuk from Institute of National Public Policy. So we've just figured out what is the source and result of the technological and economic innovation. So now we are going to discuss what is happening in the society, where it begins and where it ends. So first, we need to separate the types of social innovations, then review precedent studies about this paper concerns. As a result, we can examine the conceptual framework. So this study attempts to overcome the limitation of existing innovation and policy research that have been carried out fragmented based on the TESP model that encompasses technology, economy, society, and public policy. We can discuss social innovation, its internal force, and its impact on policy and society itself. In general, the term innovation means a new or improved product or process that significantly differ with previous one, but some others see it as a process that changing beliefs and relationships of the world. In this time, we trying to broaden our view of social innovation. In some narrow sense, social innovation is basically a method or practice to target social problem. But we now experiencing some structural change of society as a whole, which cause innovative process too. So we need to explore those processes separately. Among the various discussions surrounding social innovation, the dominant topic aims to solve certain problems, such as climate change or public health, etc. So the core concept of discussions are like science, technology, entrepreneurship, and sustainability. But there's another type of social innovation which incorporate cataclysmic change caused by technological economic innovation within our society. This paper going to introduce those changes as a conceptual model, so-called adaptive social innovation. It also contains starting points of the process and impact factors to policy and society. There's several conditions to occur adaptive social innovation, which are result of the economic innovation from TESP model. UNE proposed the impact of economic innovation that transform society's production and consumption or distribution. These changes are the starting point or just beginning of social adaptation processes. This adaptive social innovation consists of perceptual and behavioral and institutional transformation. Our perception about socio-economic environment are basically same as yesterday. It's more easy to keep it just unconcerned and uninterested until it actually bothers me. But some others put balance of risk or benefit to their environment. If the technologies are familiar with or favorable enough, they devaluate the risk and reevaluate the benefit. But if not, vice versa. So these perceptional changes shape personal motivation and intention. And that leads to behavioral transformation. Meanwhile, our government can see these changes around their environment. They discover new policy demands and redefine its role and scope, trying to be in neutral because they're government, but the social transformation force to move the power. As they keep their perception in neutral, they make tilted structure. So these circumstances put government into perceptual dilemma. So public and markets are more likely to change their behavior as the risk is more visible and immediate. Contrary, if benefit looks tangible, they could head for catch it. When they face with massive environmental changes like disaster or GMO food and a free trade agreement, they take action proactively or just response improvisedly. There's difference in proactive behavior because it contains goal and focus. It looks quite similar with the diffusion of innovation model by Everett Rogers. Minority lead the way and majority follow after. When the government captured this large scale of behavioral transformation, they find problematic feature from it, and that can be in position of official agenda to make proper action of their own. Perceptual and behavioral transformation acts as a pressure to urge social adaptation, and it reflected in institutions. In this paper, the institutions can be formal or informal ones. Informal institutions include traditions, customs, shared value, or normative senses. It works not everywhere, but a certain context like region or industry or online community. Every social subsystem has its own institutions. It's been accumulated in past experience and present values. We need long time to make informal rules. Markets and companies seeking to prepare for the impact, because we know their primary goal is their survival. They can attempt to change their internal value systems or adjusting missions and visions, which can be informal institutions. But laws, statements, and regulations are the formal institutions. It stipulates political system. Government authority is established through formal institutions. Formal institution influence its power through whole society. It seems as distinction to divide state and societal sphere. Pekovich had categorized the type of compatibility between formal and informal institutions. This relationship determines which one to get dominant position and power in society. If formal institutions work effectively, the informal one could vanish or supportive. But if it's not, they may have conflict. They're trying to substitute each other or compete back and forth, so which are obviously wastes for everyone because it makes transaction cost. We can gather up this phenomena to establish a model. It can help to understand what is happening in this society, and when you face it with technological and economic innovation. This model consists of perceptual, behavioral, and institutional transformation. This process iterates a reciprocal interaction. Their perception reinforce behavior, but the behavior can strengthen others' perception too. Likewise, informal norms, ethics, or customs, or any inertial values can spawn formal one, but laws and regulations can reproduce informal institutions. If we can endure this social adaptation process, two kinds of results can be expected. One heading to policy and the other to society itself. When institutional transformation aligned, which means formal rules are effective enough to substitute the informal one, or they complement each other's, people and private companies would love to accept the law. But if not, the formal institution could be tested its substantive power in society. Public will comply because it's the law, but it can't be acceptance. When government prepared for transformation beforehand, the formal institution can be useful ground for government's willpower. It leads to proactive policy making, which has goals and means. But if not, all they can do is just react, response, nervous action because they're not prepared. So we can schematize the starting points and impacting factors of this adaptive social innovation as this diagram. It begins from socio-economic transformation, like industrial shift, labor market dynamics, consumption, and distribution. And it ends with societal embracement and policy strategy. So that was the whole progress of social innovation part for now. We are planning to add some related theoretical discussion and further supplementary effort. We need more refinement to specify its concepts. Hope to finish it on time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Cho. The discussion and comments will be made by Dr. Hwang-Gyu Hee, who is the director of vet 직업 능력 개발원. Dr. Hwang, are you online? Are you online? Okay. You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
And
okay.
can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Please. Yeah.
Okay. This is Hyang at the Korea Research Institute for Vocational Education Training, 한국직업능력연구원. It is a great honor to participate in this conference as a discussant for the valuable presentation delivered by Dr. Jo. Unfortunately, this time I can participate in online only. I'm regretting it, and please allow me. And first of all, I think the presentation is very high level theoretical perspectives, but my perspective, my comments is a bit different angle. I am more focused on low level or practical perspectives. Please allow it. First of all, when he talk about social innovation, I'm a bit confused about the conceptualization. To me, he also regard Lin and Chen year 2016 as a kind of extension of OECD 2019. But from the chronology of the literature presented, this is not convincing enough to justify the concept of social innovation. However, despite of that, I fully agree with that the current situation is a transition. There is a significant break with the previous one. About digital transformation, all of us fully agree. One of the most driving forces is digitalization. In the production process, this era is approaching to the final stage of automation, unmanned factory. However, bigger changes include substitution in non-production process and changes in the role of human being in subsector, including catering service, banking service, and so on. There are significant changes in the way of working and the changes in the contents of work as well. From this situation, there are certain issues emerging, and I would like to focus on the issue and deliver some suggestion. During these dramatic changes, there could be a trend of polarization between those who utilize this opportunity and those who are extracted. It causes income polarization and so on. Acceptance of certain changes is inevitable. It requires changes in legal system and institutional perspective. I think in this paper, mainly focus on this perspective, but I think this comment is a bit long. I think might misunderstand his point, but still, I think the presenter, she still mainly remained in this kind of certain inevitable changes. However, my focus is a bit different. Apart from accepting the inevitable changes, what to do with those who fall behind in these changes? The social cost is too high to accept as this of polarization as the inevitable natural selection. Now in Korea, it is a political. There are a lot of political debate. Currently, some of us pay attention to basic income policy and so on. However, the subsidy policies, including basic income, cannot be a sufficient solution, but still necessary. Maybe it is related to my background. I work at the Korea Institute for Vocational Education and Training, and we are much of pay attention on vocational education training. Currently, the key to intervening in social change is to enhance the individual's ability to respond to job changes. It should include education and training policy from supply side, and also from demand side. There should be more emphasis on discovering and creating new jobs. There should be the expansion of new business opportunities due to digital transformation. It could be triggered by new industrial policies for the digital transformation. During the development of new industrial policies, reinforcement of education and training policy should be accompanied. In the virtuous cycle toward the digital transformation, it should not be overlooked the role of welfare policy for the people of falling behind in this transition. The role of welfare policy as a last resort is still necessary. My overall, my understanding, in my understanding, they also bring a very high level discussion. But here, as you heard about me, I just bring some practical issue. Okay, I hope this kind of consideration will be useful. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Huang, for your nice comments. Actually, I think the social impact of the technology innovation is very much important nowadays, because, for example, because of the introduction of metaverse, you may well know metaverse, the distinction between reality and the virtual situation becomes unclear. So sometimes the way of thinking and the way of acting may be very much different from the old ones. So we have to think about the possibility of social impact, social changes due to the technology innovation. Okay. So the last presenter will be Dr. HyounJeong, who is a senior researcher at ETRI. She just got her doctoral degree from Professor Lee, Today's the topic of her presentation is National Innovation System and Innovation Studies in Korea. Please welcome her.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for waiting and attending this presentation. I'm HyounJeong from Electronics and Telecommunication Research Institute in Korea. It's a great pleasure to be here with you all, but I'm the last presenter this session, so I'm so nervous while waiting. Anyway, the title of the presentation is National Innovation Systems and Innovation Studies in Korea. Today, I'd like to brief my research design and further develop the logical structure of this study by listening to honorable researchers' discussion, comments, and advice. So here are the contents of this presentation. Firstly, in the introduction, I will describe the background and the purpose of the research. Next, I will discuss theoretical background and research method. At the end of this presentation, I will finish up with my future research plan. Here is the introduction. Firstly, I will explain the research background and motivation of this study. As you all know, NIS is a relatively new concept. It was first introduced by Freeman in 1892 and further developed by Lundvall, Nelson, and Rosenberg. And in the 1990s, the OECD adopted the NIS as a tool to understand differences in innovation and economic performances across countries. This led to widespread NIS concept. After all, nowadays, NIS has been the rationale for innovation policies in many countries. Indeed, NIS has emphasized that policies must play a role to strengthen formal or informal links between innovation actors. Therefore, innovation studies is very important because it provides a knowledge base, substantial knowledge base on NIS. However, the discussion linking NIS and innovation studies is not enough. In this research background, the research goal is as follows. First, to explore the status of innovation studies in Korea. Second, to compare the development stage in NIS and the status of innovation studies. Third, to analyze how innovation studies in Korea is related to the development of NIS. Finally, I will suggest what the challenges of innovation studies in Korea are. As a theoretical background, I have respectively reviewed NIS and innovation studies. Let's look at the concept of NIS. In the 1980s, an attempt emerged. It is to understand technological innovation from the perspective of system, from the perspective of systems. And the systems perspective can be regarded as a discussion similar to the context sensitivity of the social sciences in general. It is because a system perspective is a matter of context within an individual system. Therefore, the researchers have individually defined NIS in consideration of the characteristics of the object they want to explore. Here is the characteristics of the NIS definition by each researchers. Freeman introduced the concept of NIS and emphasized innovation in institutional factors. Lundberg defined a narrow meaning and a broad meaning of NIS, focusing on institution and organizations. Nelson and Rosenberg conducted case studies across countries using NIS developed by applying the evolutionary perspective. Patel and Pavitt approached the NIS from the perspective of the total capacity of institutions at the national level. On the other hand, Metcalf focused on other sectors rather than the government. This slide is about the elements of NIS and the model. Generally, the elements of NIS are the innovation actors, institutions, and networks. Here, the innovation actors are organizations such as enterprise, universities, public research institutes, and the government. It is general that NIS model is configured by the innovation actors and the links between them. But in this study, the model will be configured by emphasizing the elements and performance of NIS. So the government supporting actor or indirect actors is placed in the center, and the interaction network among direct actors around government is as double-headed arrows. The circle in the middle represents the institutions as the arena in which actors are playing. Various innovation performances spread to the national environment and return to NIS. And these are forming an institution innovation capital. According to the co-evolutionary theory of innovation, there are several kinds of innovation performance: technology, economic, social. However, policy innovations is not indicated in this model because it was regarded as inherent in this system based on the feedback of other innovation performances. Next is innovation studies. In this study, innovation studies is defined as an academic field that studies individual innovation activities, interaction of innovation actors, and the relationship between innovation performance and diffusion. NIS is an essential topic in the field of innovation studies. Meanwhile, innovation studies provide a knowledge base for by studying NIS as a whole. However, few studies have analyzed innovation from the perspective of NIS. So I will now explain the research methodology. It is necessary to set the criteria of analyzed time range. So to understand the growth of NIS in Korea, I've looked at the development of science and technology. The government institutionally developed science and technology during the foundation stage and the early takeoff stage. In this period, the academic bases are lacked to support policy making. But in the 1990s in Korea, academic societies focused on innovation studies were established and have been publishing specialized academic journal. So the status of innovation studies will have to be analyzed from the time of publication of the journal. For convenience, the period of the journal publication was divided into 10-year units. I have considered which journal would be suitable for analyzing the status of innovation studies. JTI and JCOTIS are representative academic journal focusing on innovation studies in Korea. In this journal, the total number of published paper was 1,427 papers written by 1,608 Korean authors. However, this study intends to analyze the paper of dedicated authors who are actively researching in Korea. So I was calculating the thesis publication score by authors and selected authors with high score. As a result, 740 papers and 111 authors were selected. Selected papers accounted for 51.86% of all papers, and selected authors accounted for 6.9% of all authors. Thus, it can be judged that these papers represented the entire paper on journal. Finally, review title and keywords of selected papers and classify research topics into elements of NIS and type of innovation performance. This following table summarizes the elements to classify papers. I'm expecting to draw implication by comparing and discussing innovation studies papers classified from the perspective of NIS. Finally, I will discuss future research plan. As shown in this schedule, I plan to conduct additional research for about 1 month to complete the paper. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for your attention, even though my ugly English. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I do congratulate for your getting doctoral degree. So I think your paper is about the research study. Okay, so now our discussant will be Professor Kim Byung-gun at Korea Tech 한국기술교육대학. Professor Kim Okay, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, you waited too long. So yeah, I want to ask you for nice comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me as a discussant. This is Byung-gun Kim from Korea University of Technology and Education. And I really enjoyed insightful presentation from Dr. HyounJeong. Some comments on your research. First, please provide more academic discussions of the definition of innovation studies. You suggested definition of innovation studies mainly focusing on the concept of national innovation systems. It may confuse the reader to understand the innovation studies and the national innovation systems. Second, it may not, yes, it may give you more burden, but to get more complete picture of innovation studies in Korea, you may consider to include papers written by Korean scholars in the international journals such as Research Policy and Technovations. And the bibliometric methods help us understand the landscape of innovation studies in Korea. But it would be better to give a deeper understanding on development innovation studies by including qualitative analysis. For example, expert interviews. I really expect your complete research and your great research work. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. For the presenters today, if you have anything that you want to say, I give you some chance, opportunity to say. No? So I'd like to have a last chance to discuss three discussants who have been waiting for such a long time today. If you have anything to say more, and why don't you start? And from Professor Lee Gong-rae, if you have anything to say.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I learned a lot here.
Okay.
Enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. What about Dr. Huang? Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah. What about Professor Kim? Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay. Yeah. So you have some minutes before we finish our session. So I'd like to have some opportunity to invite Professor Yi to have some concluding remarks and the final comments to today's discussion, presentation and discussion session. Okay, very good.
First of all, I would like to give a great thanks to the today's presentation for this my team, Dr. Hyang and Inhye and Jo Min-hyuk and my lovely PhD student HyounJeong. I know that this topic is very, very difficult and very so we have always difficult to not find a reference to appropriate to our researches. As you may know, this topic is a new and challengeable research topic. So for this reason, we need to make a new definition and a new framework for ourselves. So in this region, I would like to great thanks to my research team, even though their English is not proficient, but I will hope they will be getting better. So also I would like to great thanks to the Professor Yeom, my senior dean, and for previous researchers in this field. Today's your topic, your presentation, and sorry, excuse me, your comment will be very useful to develop my research topics. And frankly, I'm not sure we could get the last final research topics, but we will try to. And somebody report to our research papers, and then they will give a comment. We will also adapt and develop our research topics. So in this, also we will have a presentation too. I'm not sure, but the first next November in this beautiful island. Place slightly different. Maybe I'm not sure about the south of this island. So I would like to for excellent comment. Then, if available, I would like to. Sorry, I'm looking forward to see. I'm going to see you again next month. So that conference will be Korea. Autumn Conference of Korea Society of Innovation and Technology Innovations. In Korean, 한국기술혁신학회 축약술대회. So then we will give a presentation, better result and more concise and developed content. Then today, I again. Our research team and our research colleague and senior, Professor Lee, Professor Kim Myung-gun, Dr. Hwang and our senior member, Yeom Myung-bae. Thank you so much. And I'm looking to see you again next month in Jeju Island. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.